They are accused of leading a doomsday cult. They are accused of conspiring to murder 3 people. They are accused of funding their love affair with insurance money and stolen Social Security payments. Lori and Chad Daybell are married, their prior spouses dead, and her children murdered and buried in the yard. It's a crime prosecutors say was fueled by sex, money, and power. The power coming from their ability to convince their followers that the world was ending and dark spirits were taking over people's bodies which needed to be killed. Tonight, we are live from Boise, Idaho, where the judge has banned cameras from the courtroom, but we are bringing you all the important evidence from the trial with our correspondent, Chanley Painter, who has been inside the courtroom. And we are also playing audio recordings of all the big moments from the trial as our coverage of Idaho versus Lori Daybell, the Doomsday Cult Mom murder trial, continues. I'm Vinny Politan. Thank you so much for joining us tonight here on Closing Arguments. Our in-depth coverage continues. Let's talk about Chad Daybell and Lori Daybell. These two are doomsday preppers. That's the foundation of their relationship and how they met at this conference. But once they met, things took on a life of their own and a lot of people died. But it's these core beliefs that they talk about. The world is ending. Lori and Chad are going to lead the 144,000. Some of the beliefs, you know, you might say, okay, other people have beliefs kind of like that. I get it. People are very, you know, they think maybe they're having visions and they can see the future and they understand that the second coming will occur. But they took it to the next level and they integrated into these beliefs zombies. Actual zombies, like, you know, the living dead, zombies. Unbelievably. This was part of what they were talking about and part of what they were trying to convince others of. That there were these spirits that were so dark that were invading the bodies of people close to them, spouses, children. And they were zombies. And once you became a zombie, that was it. You needed to go. You needed to go. And they spent time and effort in trying to cast spirits out. But every time it seems they were able to cast a spirit out, another spirit would get in there. So the only way to really resolve this problem they were having with people in their lives was for them to be killed. The bodies to be destroyed, the lives taken out of them. Now, the question, I think, as you watch this trial and you listen to the testimony and you hear about the text messages and what each is saying to the other, right? Did the leaders of this doomsday cult, did they really believe what they were saying? Did Chad Daybell really believe all this stuff? Or was it a vehicle for him? You know, like I started writing these books and people started reading them and I started talking about my visions and then all of a sudden people show up, so I got to up the ante. I meet this woman who looks, you know, she's into me. So, you know, maybe I'll tell her about my visions, about us. I mean, did he really believe it? Did Lori really believe these visions and dark spirits and zombies? Like, is she really like sitting down saying, oh my goodness, I can't believe that, you know, Tammy, Chad's wife, is now has a dark spirit. Charles, dark spirit. My children, dark. Do they really believe what they were talking to each other about and talking to others? Like the other followers who were part of this cult. And you look at these other people, who were the true believers? I mean, were there folks in this cult that were buying what Chad was selling and what Lori was selling? To me, it's a big part of this case and this story as you try to peel back the layers to try to understand why all these people died. Like, what's really going on? We're going to talk about that tonight. But let's begin, as we do each night at this time, going out live to Chanley Painter, who was outside the courthouse in Boise, where the judge has told us and the rest of the media no cameras inside. But the good news is Chanley goes in every day and brings us and tells us at this time of the show the three most important things we need to know about what happened today in Boise. Good evening, Chanley. What do you have for number one?
Great to be with you, Vinny. You're going to like number one, because after weeks of no cameras, no streaming outside this courthouse of what's happening inside that courtroom, the judge handed down an order this morning saying that he will allow that verdict, when it comes down, to be streamed live on his YouTube page. That means Court TV can bring it live to our viewers when it happens. Big news. We are thinking it's going to be a lot like what we watch in the listening room here. It's like a Zoom hearing, and like previous hearings in this case that have been streamed on his YouTube page, where we have a view of Lori at defense counsel table, the prosecution table, the judge. So we will be able to see everyone, her reaction when the jury does reach their decision.
Well, I'll applaud the judge for having some level of transparency at the end of this, and I think it's a significant moment because when you have a big case like this and you don't allow the verdict to be heard as it's happening, there could be some misreporting. I remember the Martha Stewart trial, no cameras. You watched the reporting on other networks on that verdict. Everybody had it all messed up. No one had any idea what the verdict was. It was so confusing because everyone's rushing to try to report it and they don't really understand it. This one's going to be involved. So that's good. That's good news. Perhaps after that, there'll be a moment where he understands that transparency is a good thing for trust in our system of justice, trust in our government, and perhaps when Chad Daybell goes to trial, that'll be the norm. But that's big, big news. So the verdict live here on Court TV, folks. And the thing about a verdict, it can happen at any moment. So you're going to have to watch all day long. Okay. What do you have for number two? That's a tough act to follow, Chanley.
Right. So number two will give us more of an idea when that verdict may be, Vinny, because all the evidence is in. We've had 5 weeks or so of testimony here at the Ada County Courthouse. Prosecution called 60 witnesses in its case in chief before arresting earlier today. And then, of course, the defense made its motion for judgment of acquittal. And the judge took that under advisement, hasn't technically ruled yet because, like you said, it's a complicated matter. The elements of all the conspiracy charges. He was charged as principal to murder, and so he's going to get back with everyone on that. But then the defense, outside the juror's presence, asked for a moment to confer with Lori herself and the investigator on the team to see if they wanted to do anything in her defense and if she wanted to testify for today. So when court resumed back in session, Vinny, this is what we heard. Let's watch.
Ms. Vallow, you do have the Fifth Amendment right to, in this case, according to the Fifth Amendment, it's guaranteed by the United States Constitution that no person shall be compelled in any criminal case to be a witness against themselves, and this privilege applies to Idaho through the 14th Amendment. That guarantees that no person may be compelled in a criminal case to testify. So you do have that right and will maintain that right, and is it your decision to continue to maintain that right and not testify in this matter?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you for your response, and I appreciate counsel discussing that with your client.
So, Vinny, the doomsday cult bomb did not take the stand, waived her right to testify, sped things up for us. So tomorrow, the attorneys only will meet with the judge. We can also kind of watch, hammer out those jury instructions before the jury returns Thursday for closing arguments, Vinny. And Thursday night, we could be in a verdict watch here for Lori Vallow Daybell.
So tomorrow is just a kind of a housekeeping day, figuring out what the instructions will be and everything else. And then Thursday, closing. Is there any time restrictions on those closing arguments?
not that the judge has issued or that we've been hearing. We do know that he'll likely instruct the jury before closings and after closings, and then the 6 alternates will be randomly selected before the final 12 go back and deliberate the fate. Many charges for them to go through and sort through, Vinny. But yeah, verdict watch Thursday, possibly going to Friday, and get this, it's Mother's Day weekend for the mother on trial for murdering her children, and a verdict could be quite symbolic.
Wow. Okay. This is big. So the evidence is all in. The defense has no evidence. Closing arguments on Thursday. And then, like we said, that verdict will be right here on Court TV. So really, beginning Thursday, you want to be watching Court TV for that moment when the jury, and the jury, a case like this, they could come back very quickly. They could take 2 weeks. Because it's that layered, and it's 3 different theories of murders of 3 different victims. Each one is very specific. It may not be easy for them. Could be, but may not be. All right, this is a big day. This is a big, big day. All right, so what do you have left on number 3?
Well, I did catch up with someone who's been in this courtroom watching this trial unfold. I visited with her in more detail today. Her name's Trish Madsen. She's from St. Anthony, Idaho, lived there at the time all of this happened. Remember, Fremont County, right next to Rexburg. So she talked to me about reading Chad's books, believing in him at the time before all of this happened, and how her story somehow involved being in Rexburg, the Madison County Women's Detention Center, at the same time as Lori Vallow Daybell after she was arrested. Let's take a listen.
Julie Rowe. So I read a few of her books that Chad published, and so that's how I got to know of Chad Daybell. And I actually, would read his website, and I kind of admired him. I thought he was a good guy, wanted to meet him. And then I just kind of had to take a step back and with all of this, and the answer that I got inside was to just be careful. So I distanced myself from it. I'm so glad that I did. We could see her. She was in her own pod, a little pod, very small, but we could see her. So, and when we went to rec or church or had to leave our pod, we'd walk past her pod, and it was interesting to watch her sometimes. There was a time that she did sock puppets, so. We just caught her once. I got moved into that pod after she left, and so I understand how lonely that small pod was. So, whatever. But we did catch her doing it.
So some insights into the life that Lori has lived inside that. I've been there. I've been to that women's detention center in Rexburg. It's connected to the courthouse there in Madison County. Apparently, it's pretty nice accommodations considering it is a jail for women, small population. The officers there are nice, according to Trish. The food is even good. They have internet, tablets to communicate, text messaging with, online with visitors. And Trish wanted to share more of her story of why she was in there at the time, had some untreated issues with alcoholism. Now, Benny, she's doing great. She actually moved here to Boise, has a beautiful story that she tells, and she's talked about being in here, how different Lori now seems than what she saw her in jail every day with in her pod, and is, of course, like most people who come here and watch, hoping for justice.
Yeah, and she seemed like she was pretty close to becoming one of Chad's followers.
Yes.
He didn't make a lot of money from these books, but I guess locally there was a little bit of chatter about it. Some people picked it up, they read it, and wow, that's like a close call. You could have been wrapped up in this whole thing, could have ended up on the witness stand, who knows what else you could have ended up being involved in. But wow, Chandler, this has been a wild ride, this trial, and the most wild part is still ahead of us. We've got closing arguments and verdict watch, and a verdict coming up this week. All the evidence is in. Chanley Painter, live in Boise tonight. Thank you so much.